And again, thank you so much for being with us this morning. It's great to have you join us for this virtual event. My name is Luis Campillo. I'm the AARP Los Angeles Regional Director. We're really excited to once again partner with Metro on today's event, which we are calling Metro's Art Tour with AARP. And our hope is that by the end of today's program, you will feel inspired and want to learn more about Metro's new art exhibition, which is called We Are, Portraits of Metro Riders by Local Artists. This new exhibition celebrates the diversity of LA County and the community of transit riders. It features portraits presented throughout the Metro system and online as well. And obviously today we're going to see some of the online portions of it. And to tell us more about where you can find more information about it and about the exhibition and all the magic that went behind putting this together, we have Mayan Alcantara, Senior Manager at Metro. Thank you so much for joining us, Mayan. And we also are pleased to be joined today by one of the featured artists for the exhibition, Yolanda Gonzalez, a celebrated Chicana painter, art educator, and punk rocker at heart, who is here to share the inspiration and more information about her piece entitled We Ride the Train Towards Memories of Beautiful Travels. And speaking of memories, some of you may remember that back in late 2015, AARP invited Yolanda to be our inaugural artist for the AARP Los Angeles Portraits of Community project, an initiative that was inspired by a series of conversations that we held with residents of Los Angeles that same year. And we asked the question, what would make LA an even better place to live? In the culmination of that first phase of the project, we saw Yolanda's art featured in 3 Metro buses. It was also featured on the then Metro Gogh line, now the L line. And it was also featured in a number of Metro buses around the city. For us at AARP, we see public transportation as a critical link connecting older adults and their families to social activities like art shows, whether virtual or in person, economic opportunity, and community services. So we at AARP Los Angeles remain very committed to supporting individuals in living, growing, and connecting locally. So that's one of the reasons why we're so thrilled to continue our collaboration both with Metro and Yolanda. And now I would like to turn the program over to Mayan Alcantara to walk us through the exhibition.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mayan, and in a minute I will share my screen. But the first thing I wanted to share with you is a little bit about Metro Art. Metro Art works closely with our colleagues throughout the region to provide transit environments that humanize the customer experience through temporary exhibitions, permanent capital projects, and cultural programming. Together with my teammates, we strive hard to provide opportunities for artists at every stage of the career. So when I share with you the images related to We Are, you'll see work by artists who are emerging as well as artists who are established. I'm going to share my screen, and the screen should, there you go. If you're interested in learning more about this project, please go to metro.art.net, and the We Are page gives you a little bit more information about the artists who participated. The We Are portrait includes a variety of platforms. What we're seeing, if you were to visit the Union Station Passageway, 35 of the 41 portraits are exhibited. The 41 portraits are exhibited throughout our system on digital kiosks, as well as in the future, there will be art buses, posters, and a number of wonderful opportunities to view the really intimate works. This is a project that is especially close to our heart. We started it in 2019, initially for the A line, what was formerly the Blue Line, and has grown to expand throughout our system. Metro reaches over 840,000 riders a day, and we are really pleased that this particular series really highlights the ridership and the close ties between the artists and transportation and the riders and transportation. Here are a few of the portraits that's included in this exhibition. And there's a lot of multi-generational stories, like Yolanda's stories, where we show grandparents with their grandkids, or mothers and daughters. We also show youth who utilize the transportation to get to work, to get to school, to see their friends. Just some highlights and some beautiful stories. If you were to go to this page and click on each of these images, you'll see some of the personal stories that are associated with these works. Just a few things, and then I want to pass it over to Yolanda so she has lots of time to talk about her practice and about her artwork. But Aceborn is one of our retired drivers. And so this is a portrait of his grandson and him together. Actually, let me rephrase that. Aceborn is an artist, and this work is showing one of our retired drivers, and it's his father-in-law and his son. And then there's some beautiful works here by Simonette. These pieces are presented as digital pieces, but the original artworks are really intricate. Some of the artists work in collage, some of the artists work in paint, some of the artists work digitally. So we really invite you to see the exhibition, especially the one at Union Station. You'll see the scale of the portraits, and you can see the hand of the artists. And then Luis and Yolanda, is it time for me to switch over?
Yes, you can go ahead and bring our special guest, Yolanda. Thank you, Maya, for providing that overview of the exhibition. So Yolanda, over to you.
Good morning. Thank you, AARP, for hosting, and Metro for this wonderful project. And I've collaborated with both of you. So it's interesting to have this full circle, and it's lovely to spend some time with you talking about art this morning. Gracias. Buenos días a todos. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. When I was asked for this project, the We Are, I was very excited, and I started to think of when I was young and how I would travel on the bus with my mother. And my mother and I have an incredible relationship. So this was a very special project for me. I'm a visual artist. I've been creating art for the last 38 years, and I come from a family of artists dating back to 1877. This is my studio that you see. I usually create to the right. You can see my canvases that are in preparation to continue to work on. And to the left, you see a beautiful image of a piano, and that was my grandmother's piano, who in fact sat me down to create art at the age of 8, and she was also a pianist. So it's very apropos to have her in my studio, her energy and her piano. So these portraits, the still life to the left are flowers that I was commissioned. This wonderful lady asked me to create a still life for her home. And I got the idea to go into her garden and pick flowers that were growing in her garden. So this particular still life is called Flowers from Louisa's Garden. And I often create still lifes. I think they're the most beautiful forms of art, the natural flowers and how they grow and their beautiful colors and essence and texture. The painting to the right was a wonderful commission that I had created about, I would say 6, maybe 7 years ago. Is that correct, Luis? About 7 years ago?
Yes, it is 2015, believe it or not.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So AARP approached me to create a project called Portraits of the Community. And so I took pictures of people in the community, and then I created these beautiful paintings. And so this is to the right, and it's this lovely woman with fruit holding in a bowl, and the calla lilies. And the backgrounds that I create with those patterns are in homage to my father, who was an interior designer. And I remember growing up and looking at the wallpaper and his sample books and seeing all the textures and patterns. And I never knew that those would turn up in my paintings, but they're such a wonderful addition to my works, and they do add depth and texture. And it is in memory of my father and what he used to create. Again, you'll see that same background. And this is portrait of Alicia, which is a portrait of my sister, Alicia. And the portrait to the right, I often ask I get commissioned to create works of art of people's families, of their mother, of themselves. And this is a lovely portrait of Valentina del Olmo and Frankie del Olmo. And their father, Frank del Olmo, was one of the first Chicano journalists at the LA Times. And so it was an honor when his wife, Magdalena, commissioned me to create this portrait of them. So to the right, you will see the artwork that was on the Vivian Gold line. And it's a portrait of my mother to the right, and this lovely woman to the left, an elderly woman. And so when I was asked to create the work for We Are Portraits of the Metro Writers, I thought of incorporating the train and that image of my mom on the train. And the portrait in the front is my mother when she was young, and myself when I was young as well, younger. And it was a beautiful story how I created those images, and then they were on the Metro, and I would see them when I was driving throughout the city, the Metro driving by, and I would see the portraits, my portraits on them, and I was very proud to have those going throughout Los Angeles and other areas. And I believe that it just really exposed everybody to art. And I think that art should be viewed and appreciated and seen with everybody, the whole community. Everybody should be able to see it. If you don't feel comfortable going to a museum or to an art exhibition, the AARP and Metro has brought artwork to you. And I think that is so important, and it was so lovely to see. So it was my birthday, and my mother and I were driving up to Pasadena, and I said, "Mom, here comes a train." And she said, "Oh, ojalá es mi tren." Hopefully it's my train. And it was a train. And so it was such a pleasure and joy to for her to see that. And that will always be a really dear memory in my heart. And with that collaboration, AARP and Metro, it really wouldn't have happened. So thank you. And that is a portrait that I created that was taken, and then therefore it was edited to be applied onto the process that they use for the train. So as an artist, you get asked to collaborate with different people on different projects. And these three pieces are projects that I have coming up this month. The gentleman that you see to the left with the gray hair is Michael Connolly. He's an author and a writer, and he is a gentleman that created the Bosch story that was taken for the books. for the program. He's a wonderful writer, and it was lovely to meet him. The company that creates Bosch asked if they could use some of my images for a few episodes. And so it's interesting because now we have such great possibilities. I sent them high resolution images of my art, and they created these very large paintings of my work, prints, and they set up an exhibition and a studio visual for the particular episode. And then it was very lovely when they asked me if I would be if I would make a guest appearance on one of the episodes. And it was lovely to meet. To the right, you'll see Titus, and who is Bosch himself, which is a program that I had watched. So that was lovely to meet him. So that will be airing. The new series of Bosch will be airing in May, and I will have 2 episodes on that with my artwork and then with my guest appearance. And then the image on top with my big chongo, which I love, is a dear friend of mine, Giselle Fernandez, who is a patron of my art. And she is on Spectrum News, and she has a lovely program called LA Stories on Spectrum. So she came and was very kind to create an interview about my life and my art. And that will be airing April 25th on Spectrum. And also it will air throughout May. And so going back to the project with AARP and with the project with Metro, you feel how the transit and traveling and that whole concept of seeing art while you travel and having that connection with art. And it's also a point for discussion and for connection with people who are riding the metro or the buses. And it reminds me of my mother and I when we were young and we used to ride the bus, and how I really enjoyed those times together, because I'm the youngest of 6 siblings and I didn't get very much time with my mother by myself. But those rides on the transit were very important to me. So thank you, AARP, and thank you, Metro, for allowing us to connect ourselves with the community and with each other through transit. My last and very exciting share that I'd like to show today is I will be having a retrospective at the Museum of Latin American Art in February of 2023. I hope that you will be able to join us and come and see the exhibition. It's 38 years of artwork. And again, it's so important to expose everybody to art and also to create art. There are classes throughout Los Angeles, and it's important to create. If you have that that need or that want to create, get some, you could even get, computer paper and a pencil and just draw what's in front of you. It's important to express, and expressing the creative energy for me is a form of prayer or meditation. And we all could use a little more of that in this universe. So I thank you for giving me the opportunity to share a little bit of my life and of what I do. And I hope that we all can create more and share more creativity through transit, with community, and with ourselves. Thanks again.
Thank you, Yolanda. Pretty amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your inspiration, your talent, and this amazing artwork. It's really, we're so lucky to have you in our community and to be able to reconnect not only with each other, particularly after the last very difficult years that we've had, but with some of the great memories and reasons why we know that everybody loves LA and our city and our county, of course. So thank you so much.
For having me. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you. So as we get into the Q&A portion of this conversation, I see that we have one question from Jacqueline. How long will the art remain on the Metro? This may have been addressed earlier, but I just entered late, so if you could please address that. How late will the art be featured on Metro?
Luis, I wonder if it would be okay for me to answer this question while sharing my screen. I didn't get a chance to, I wanted to make sure Yolanda had as much opportunity to speak as possible, but I didn't get a chance to share the other images. And I thought this would be a good way. I mean, as I'm addressing the question, I could also share some of the other artworks if that's cool with everyone. But
yes, please go ahead.
Let's do that. So I'm going to give a long-winded answer to a very short question. The artworks in the passageway will be up until around the fall, but this is a well-loved continuing exhibition, and it'll be on the digital kiosks throughout our system, eventually on the A line, the E line, and the K line in the next year or so. So you might be on a platform waiting for your train to come, and you'll be able to see these artworks on those screens. The screens share time with other information about Metro. So, you'll be seeing information about which trains are coming, but then the artwork will come throughout the day. And then in the summer time, you'll see one or two art buses, which will be going throughout the region. And so you might be waiting for a bus stop and be surprised that one of the buses will be covered by these artworks. And that's a sneak peek and not yet fully announced, but so giving you these other opportunities to see the artwork. One of the things we really love about this piece is doesn't have an end date, right? We will continue to commission artists and artwork throughout the years. And this initial group of 41 will be joined by new artworks throughout the system. So it's really a reflection of our ridership. It's a reflection of the artists in the area. It's a reflection of our different experiences and how we're introduced to taking transportation in the area. This is such a sweet story. This little girl went to visit the portrait exhibition at Union Station, and she and her dad, who is the artist, created an Instagram video of her twirling through the exhibition. She's super excited to see not only the piece in which she's being exhibited, but seeing sort of all the other artworks and portraits. So if you have a chance to check out our Instagram page, this is a really cute post that this artist shared around, I think it would be around February. This is a lovely story. When this artist created this portrait, this was his fiance, and since this portrait was commissioned, they've gotten married. So there's these really intimate stories. And one of the things we really love talking about this series is that, yes, there are unique stories, but in each of these, there's something universal. And maybe we see a little bit of ourselves in these writers and in these artist experiences.
They're beautiful, Mayan. And I know as you continue to scroll, I know one of our participants is wondering if they know an artist who may be interested in being considered for this project. How can they go about, contacting you or the appropriate person at Metro to share their art with them? So
in addition to this artwork, in addition to this series, there's actually lots of other artwork opportunities for commissioning artworks throughout the system. So we always encourage artists or people who know artists to look at our website. We post opportunities on our website, and then I can put my information in the chat. So in case people want to reach out to me, that's another way. But I really encourage everyone to look at our website for opportunities, because that's the best way. And then this is also another really
beautiful story. This is a self-portrait of the artist and his wife, and they, you know, they met and started dating. And then eventually they used transportation all the time to travel throughout the region. And eventually when the airport metro connector is completed, our system will be able to get you to the airport metro connector and into LAX. So it really also talks about our mobility and the way we can experience different resources in the region, not just cultural resources, but critical things like, you know, traveling to see friends and family, going to explore the region.
So true, and I think for the person who was asking about the URL, it's art.metro.net. I know that Jessica put it on the chat function as well, so you can follow.
One of the things I wanted to highlight is, you know, many people, when they think about portraits, they go to museums and they think of like heroes and politicians and kings. And what the beautiful thing about this is we say, no, you know, everyone is a hero. Like these portraits are everyday people, are transit riders. And you see people who maybe in their everyday lives feel invisible, but are so critical to helping, you know, they've been in the front lines. There are caretakers, there are family, and this portrait series really celebrates that.
Thank you, Maya. And actually, I see your colleague Lily Ortiz has her hand up, so I'm gonna work my magic and see if we can have her hop on with us and share anything that she made. Lily, can you?
I'm here.
There
Good
you go.
morning, everyone. My name's Lily Ortiz, and I manage Metro's program for older adults called On the Move Writers Program. And we've worked closely with AARP throughout the year, and we're so excited to have connected Metro Art and AARP for this special presentation with Yolanda Gonzalez. I wanted to give you all an opportunity and share some information about an upcoming art tour, an in-person art tour here at Union Station. It's happening on May 25th at 10 a.m. And I wanted to come on here and personally invite you all to join us. We're so lucky here at Metro that we have art throughout our system. So it's often very surprising to me that I don't notice a lot of the things, despite my working here at Metro and riding transit. It's not until somebody points something out and shares something about it that it sort of comes to life. So I encourage you all to join us to learn a little bit more about this art throughout our station, the history and architecture of the beautiful historical Union Station. We're happy to invite everyone to come and join in. I dropped the link in the chat box. Please feel free to join us on May 25th for that special tour. Thank you, Luis.
Thank you, Lily. Thank you for your partnership and for making the plug for the art tours. I know that we at AARP actually going to be hosting a telephone town hall with you all, with our members and people who can actually would like to join that conversation to learn a little bit more about the program as well as the upcoming tours. And just for those of you who may be curious about when AARP will be back in full force at in-person activities, we're getting ready for that process. We're currently making sure that our volunteers have the training that they need and that we're comfortable, both staff and volunteers are comfortable with the procedures to not only keep ourselves safe, but keep you safe as well. So I know that as we get ready for the summer, hopefully by July, you'll start seeing a lot more about the AARP team out and about. And we're certainly encouraging you to participate in the tours and to do so safely if you can. And I see we have another hand raised. So I'm gonna go see if Carol, if you can go ahead and ask your question. Carol, are you still with us? Carol KO. If you are, you may be on mute. Let me try this one more time. Carol, are you still with us? Unfortunately, we cannot hear you. Any other questions or comments for our presenters this morning? Or any additional thoughts? Maya, I'm not sure if there was anything else you wanted to share about the exhibition or anything else, some of the other artists that you're working with.
No, I just I shared a lot of links in the Q&A if you are interested in an exhibition, but I also wanted to encourage you to see the cultural programming that's Miriam and Heidi's group work really hard to activate Union Station and other areas in our system. And then my other colleagues are working really hard to put artwork in our stations, in all those station environments. And I think it's a really component. It helps humanize the journey, the transit journey, to have the work of artists, you know, in our everyday experiences as we go through our region. And I think these are one of the things we're proudest about our work is how we help the civic life, how together we help improve the way we navigate the region. So enjoy and check it out.
Thank you. No, yeah, and as a fellow transit user, I think it's certainly the public transit system is one of the ways that we connect and we share that experience. And I know one of my favorite aspects of riding Metro, particularly the L line, the formerly known as the Gold line, is to be able to see the city in its full glory. Those clear days, you see downtown, you see the mountains, and so much inspiration, and also the humanity, right? So I think we have the opportunity to see people from all walks of life, intergenerational, things like that. So I know that in LA and other parts, that is a public system, that buses, metro trains that connect us. So really appreciating the work that not only your team, I know you all transitioned to do virtual programming like AARP did. I know I took part in a couple of dance functions that you all had. And I know that you're doing this virtual work as well. So thank you also for everything you do to bring the art into Metro and to help us connect with the beautiful, talented, amazing region that we're so lucky to call home. I heard from Carol. Unfortunately, she could not find a way to unmute herself. And actually, I see a question came in for you, Yolanda, which is, Yolanda, can you please tell us more about some of the themes and motifs you use in your works?
Absolutely. Well, you know, coming from a family of artists, they have always created portraits. And I started creating portraits because I've always been very interested with the human face and the different layers that lay behind our faces and our eyes and our smiles and our wrinkles and our gray hair. And so portraits for me are one of the #1 subjects that I paint. And I also create still lives. And I have several different series that I've created. One when I came back from Japan, from a residency in Japan in 1993. So portraits, I would say, are what really inspires me firsthand. And I also create ceramics. And again, with the ceramics, I create portraits with my ceramics. So the portrait for me is a very long history, and I find a very deep connection with it. And I also wanted to share something else that I thought it was quite beautiful for Metro to commission artists during a pandemic to create artwork so that it could be in the trains. And I just think it's beautiful. So that somebody mentioned that it was very calming in the chat, the artwork. And I think that that's what we needed during this time, during these past few years that have been very unknown and very surreal to a lot of us. So again, thank you for continuing to support the artist and that creative process. During this pandemic, it was very important, I think, all the way around.
Thank you, Yolanda. We certainly second that appreciation for Metro and the staff, and also thinking of the essential workers who kept and are keeping the system running for all of us who need to get to our destination safely.
Absolutely, yeah, I agree.
Great. So it looks like we have another question. What are some of your favorite still lifes to make paintings of? Whom are some of your favorite people to paint? What is it like for you to be invited by Metro to be commissioned for this project? Thank you for that great question.
Great questions. Yeah, I'm going to start with the being commissioned by Metro was an honor for me, and it was very difficult because as I painted that painting, I grew very close to it. My mother passed away right before the pandemic, and that painting for me was very dear, and so I'm thankful that I got it to Metro, and it's exhibited, and perhaps it'll connect some mothers and daughters, or some mothers and sons, or some father and daughter and sons around the world, around LA. And so some of the favorite people for me to create works of art are people that I know. And I find that to have artwork and portraits of people that are living now, that are working now, that are in society and interacting now, for me is very important. As I tell people when they come to sit for me and they say, well, what do we wear? Or what do we do? Or how do we sit? And I say, wear something that you would like to be immortalized in. And, if that isn't a lot of pressure, but it's true. And, 100 years down the line, somebody will see this painting in that polka dot dress, or that red dress, or the blue suit. And the other thing that I do with people when I'm going to be creating their portrait is I have them sit and I'll talk to them as I'm preparing my paint for about 20 minutes. And if you notice that people will sit and they'll fidget, but after about 20 minutes, everybody finds the position that they're comfortable in and that is representational of who they are. Maybe the shoulder up, or maybe their hands to the, to their face, or their leg crossed. And so then I capture actually their real persona is what I like to do. So there's that, but it's mainly people I know and people that are very dear to me. And I also do get commissions to paint people, children, or adults or mothers. I've created a lot of work of people's mothers, those portraits, the pictures that they used to have in the 40s and the 30s were quite beautiful. And so I have done several works of those. And some of my favorite still lifes, I would say, are Van Gogh's. I'm a very big fan of Van Gogh. He's always been one of my favorite artists. And years ago, when I was lecturing in Spain, the director of the Thyssen-Bonamissa Museum in Madrid, Spain, invited me to have a personal tour, and it happened to be my birthday. And I was sitting in front of a Van Gogh, and he said, I'll be right back. And he left me in front of the Van Gogh for about 15 minutes, and I began to cry because it was just so beautiful to see his work in life and to be in this room with the Van Gogh. And it was magical for me. So Van Gogh is, I would say, one of my favorite artists, and his still lifes are some of my favorites.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. And we're so sorry for your loss. Your mom is in our hearts for sure.
Thank you. She's also on the train now, which is
Moralized,
Gets to travel, which is lovely.
for sure. Our next question, I think we have some art connoisseurs in the audience this morning. The question is, has your process for creating portraiture changed during the pandemic?
Yes. At the beginning of the pandemic, I was a little concerned because I do interact a lot with people in my studio, and I think I didn't quite know how I was going to manage, actually, to be honest. And I realized that on Zoom, there are live drawings. There's drawing cabaret couture. They're from England. There's LA gallery girls. And so I started to find models. And then I started to reach out to models all over the world. And there was a particular model, Emily Metalskin, who's on Instagram, and she's an absolutely wonderful model. And the first encounter I had with her, it's like a live drawing here where there's a group of artists, but this was on Zoom, and she was reenacting a Caravaggio painting. And I was just tickled. I thought, this is great. I'll be able to interact with people, even if it's through Zoom, and I'll be able to continue to create art. And I have created several hundreds of portraits on paper and throughout clay, on my ceramics. And so for me, that was the best way that I managed, were through the Zoom live drawing sessions that I attended. And so I'll go on Instagram, and if I see a work of art that I like, then I'll scroll down and I'll look at the model, and then I'll look at who's hosting the model, and then I'll join them, and then I'll do some more research. So I have a really large library of models and hosts that I like. Janet Yons, Judith Yons is another one. And it's just, so I started doing that 3-4 times a week. And there was actually a 15-hour marathon that I joined, but that really kept me sane. And if I got up to go make some dinner, I would hear voices on my iPad from the Zoom. And so I really didn't feel quite so isolated. That really was really important. Yeah.
I wonder if I could add something to that. Just my observations working with artists and sort of hearing about their subjects. And one of the things, my takeaways as a silver lining, is that for many, it redefined what the idea of localness meant. And although there was a little bit of adjustment period, I think it's something that they have kept in their practice, like the idea that they're not as limited by geography, and there's this idea that a lot of artists now have expanded the kinds of tools that they're working with. Before there was an added layer of schedule and an added layer of when people can come to your studio, or an added layer of like that kind of logistics. And for lots of people now that they have more in their arsenal of things to utilize. So that's just me adding like potential silver linings to, based on observations I've had with seeing how other artists are working, and how other artists have dealt with the challenge of their studio practice in sort of these evolving times.
Yeah, we definitely had to make some changes, but artists usually work alone anyways and spend a lot of time alone in the studio. So and talking with some of my friends, it wasn't that big of a difference, but I do know that it did help us to expand and explore, and that was really inspiring, really inspiring.
Thank you, Yolanda. We have another question for you. Yolanda, did you create your portrait for for We Are from memory or from an original photo?
It was from a photo. Yes, it was from an original photo. And yeah, it was a photo of my mother and myself.
Beautiful. And then continuing on talking about the We Are series. So one of our viewers wants to know, what do you think about the We Are portrait series? Do you have a favorite or one that particularly caught your attention?
Well, I think the series is absolutely beautiful. It's obviously a diverse group of artists and very talented artists. And yes, I do have one that really stuck out, and it's a young girl, and I think she has the two chongos, and she's just wonderful. And I think I'm trying to remember the artist, but I've seen it on Instagram as well. And you just showed it on the, do you know which one I'm talking about?
Yes, the piece is by, the artist's name is Angela Wilcox, and the title of the piece is Kid. It's a really great story. Angela Wilcox had a studio that was on a busy retail street. It was a storefront. And so the subject's aunt and family used to come in and talk to the artist. And then eventually she met the little girl when she was a newborn. And so there's this long history. And so I think when Angela Wilcox painted the portrait, the little girl portrayed, the subject is about 3 years old. So it's a really sweet story.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
And there's another one. There's another girl with sunglasses, with the mirrored sunglasses. Are they the round?
I think you're talking about April Bay's piece.
Yes. Yes, that one as well. Those were.
So much beautiful art to choose from in this exhibition.
It's really lovely, yes. I have a question. Are you ever thinking of making a catalog or is there a pamphlet? That'd be beautiful. I'd love to.
Yes, we are working behind the scenes to produce a catalog of the exhibition. And so hopefully we'll be able to announce when it'll be launched, but it's a really, I think people have been responding to the series. And so we are working on a number of publications that we could share with the public.
Thank you. It'd be beautiful.
But coming soon, stay tuned.
Thank you for sharing that. And I think in terms of cataloging, if you're doing that on social media, I know there's a hashtag, the hashtag SomosWeAreLA, which I know the team will put on the chat, so you can have it if you are on social media and get an opportunity to see the art or be exposed to it, or help us get the word out about this exhibition and this wonderful artist, including Yolanda. And again, the hashtag is SomosWeAreLA. All right, let me take another look. This is last call for any questions or comments that you may have for Yolanda or Mayen with LA Metro. And thank you, Miriam, for putting the two photos that Yolanda just shared with us.
Thank you, Miriam. Are there any artists in the group?
Oh, good question.
And if so, what medium do they work in?
I think we have someone who has a hand up. TJ2 or J2. Let me see if I can get them, he or she or they, on the line. So let me get them on. Oh, unfortunately, we won't be able to do that today. So viewer, if you can please go ahead and put the question in the chat or the Q&A. That way we can get that answered. And as you may be seeing, Yolanda, one of our participants, shared that she's an artist as well, and she works mostly on oils for really everything. Here we go. We have the other question. Have you ever painted someone or done while a bus or train, or now even as a young child? Let me try to read that question one more time. Have you ever painted someone or drawn while on the bus or train? There you go. Now or even as a child?
No, I haven't. And that's a really great question. I do see somebody on Instagram and he does do that, and it's fascinating. But no, I have not. But wow, maybe we should do a Metro train drawing project, and everybody bring your watercolors and your sketch pad and draw each other. I think that'd be a great idea. Yeah.
That sounds fun for a possible future tour. We'll
Right. I
about
think
that.
so.
The art train, the art line. Very nice. Thank you. Thank you for your questions. Thank you again for participating with us today. Let's go ahead. I know we're getting close to the end of our time together. Mayen, let's start with you for any closing remarks or anything you would like to share with the audience before we conclude our program this morning.
Yes, I wanted to thank everyone. It's really lovely to have this opportunity to meet with you all, and also a lovely opportunity to connect with Yolanda and to really think about the work of artists and creatives in our region and how critical that is to the vibrancy. I wanted to thank my colleagues Lily and Miriam for connecting me with this webinar today. And then one last thing is just to encourage everyone to go to our page, art.metro.net, in case you're curious about what's happening. And if you know any arts and cultural organizations, we do have a call happening right now.
Great, thank you, Mayen, for sharing that. Yolanda, any closing remarks or thoughts you would like to share with us this morning?
Well, thank you, Luis and AARP, for hosting and for inviting, and Metro, thank you for having me today as well. And I would just like to say that if anybody has any thoughts or any ideas, they'd like to see my website, it's yolandagonzalez.com, and Gonzalez, Gonzalez. And feel free to email me with any questions about art or art supplies. And I am on Instagram as Yolanda Gonzalez Art, and it is a private account, but I will let you in. And so just continue to create, and thank you again for having us on your train, and really appreciate it on the buses. It's just beautiful. It's a beautiful collaboration. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. And we appreciate you. Thank you so much for taking the time again to talk with us this morning. And I know that I would also like to thank people from the AARP team. I know this, a lot of the collaboration on the Move Writers program and a lot of the work that we do with LA Metro, it has been led and continues to be led by Stephanie Ramirez, who couldn't be here today, but this session and a lot of the activities that we do around transportation was her brainchild. And I also want to thank Priscilla Segura, who has helped us promote and do a lot of the behind the scenes magic this morning. So thank you all again for joining us today. Please stay healthy and safe out there. If you would like to learn more about upcoming AARP activities, you can visit aarp.org/Los Angeles, and you can find out more about virtual and in-person programming once in-person comes back online for us. Again, a reminder that on Tuesday, May 3rd at 11 a.m., we'll be having a telephone town hall with Lily Ortiz from the Metro on the Move Writers program, when we're going to chat more about the program itself, as well as the upcoming in-person Metro art tours that she mentioned earlier in the call. And if you want to follow AARP on social media, you can also follow us at AARP California on Facebook and AARPCA on Instagram and Twitter. And lastly, again, a reminder for those of you who would like to help us get the word out, or maybe look at some of the ways that the current exhibition is being showcased on social media. We encourage you to contribute your selfies, any personal stories that you have using transit by using the hashtag Somos We Are LA. Again, the hashtag is Somos We Are LA. So again, thank you so much for joining us. We hope you have a great rest of your Monday and hope to see you at the next event. Take care, everyone.